Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Just Shout Out Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here today to review a movie that people have actually been clamoring for me to review, which is pretty hilarious because originally I didn't even want to watch this movie after knowing what they would do with it, because I knew that it was going to be terrible, but then I decided I'll give it a chance anyway, and if it's good, then my review will be good because, I always like when I'm surprised and when I expect a movie to be bad and then I end up really liking it. Or it could be terrible and then it'll be a very fun review, which is what always happens. It's not fun for me to watch, but it's always a fun thing to review. And unfortunately, it was a terrible movie. And that was Black Panther 2, aka Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, the title is the first thing that was a huge red flag for me. Well, first, I guess I should just say what I think of the first film. I was a fan of the first film. I saw it in theaters with Safi, and it was pretty surprising because the music, I thought it was going to be like some terrible rap music soundtrack, but it ended up being a really good score with drumming and very authentic African music, and I really enjoyed that quite a bit. And the main character, I thought that was the biggest problem with the first movie. Because when Black Panther was in the film Civil War, he was basically the star of the film when he was on screen. He was really cool, he was a great fighter, and then in his own movie, he's sort of sidelined by the women. And I hated that, I thought it was terrible. But it didn't surprise me because of their agenda pushing that they like to do at Marvel. And I still liked the film, though. It had a lot of fun elements to it, I guess. And it was very enjoyable in comparison to this one. I mean, the first film is like Citizen Kane compared to number 2. I mean, this movie really is number 2 in comparison to the first one. There were a lot of cringeworthy things in the first one. A lot of, like the animation with the fight at the end that looked like a PS2 video game cutscene. And there were all sorts of bad things about the first one, but it still didn't take away from the fact that it was an enjoyable movie. And I would say the first movie is like a B, maybe a B minus. I'd watch it again. And in fact, this movie, if anything, this movie just made me want to watch the first movie again. Rather than watch the second movie, I'd rather go back and watch the first one. God, this movie, Black Panther 2, it's so terrible. First off, this is all going to be spoilers. I'm not going to be doing 2 reviews for this trash. I mean, where do we begin? Well, first off, Chadwick Boseman died, which was very sad, and it was even sadder because I knew, the studio is going to use this as an opportunity to push the agenda, and that's exactly what they did. In fact, from this film, the impression that I got was that the director, Ryan Coogler, he was very sad, and it really impacted the film in a negative way. It made the film very depressing, somber, down. The first movie was very positive, even though it had some dark elements. It was a very positive film, which was one of the best things about it. This movie was the complete opposite. Even the color of the movie was ugly and dark and ugh. There were so many moments of the film where you could hardly see what was going on because they wanted to make the movie as dark as the storyline. It kind of reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean Part 2, which in my opinion that's the best film of the series. It kind of reminded me of like the Davy Joneses, whenever those guys would come on the ship and everything would get really dark and really rain and look like a Rob Zombie movie. That's what this whole movie looked like. I mean, this looked like, what if I just call Rob Zombie Black Panther. What if Rob Zombie got to edit Black Panther? Like, that's what this looked like. It looks so ugly. It looks so depressing compared to the first movie. There's no other way to describe it other than depressing. And I don't understand. So that was a terrible creative decision. That's one of the many creative decisions with this movie. I don't understand what's the deal with these emo suicidal editors who just make everything depressing looking and dull looking and colorless and lifeless like this movie. They make everything look like hell. And I'm getting sick and tired of movies looking like they're edited by suicidal emo weirdos. So the director, he was very sad, and it felt like he was not in the right mindset to make a Black Panther movie. And then I felt like the studio, they took advantage of that. The studio didn't care about Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman. They didn't care about him dying in real life. They didn't care at all. They thought, ooh, this is a great opportunity, because when people die, they always make money. They always make a lot more money off of that person's name. Like when Michael Jackson died and a shit ton of people bought his albums and things, his CDs. It was a big spike in sales. They were excited when Chadwick Boseman died. Not only because it would be bait for people to spend a ton of money on the second one and give them a ton more money that they don't deserve or need for anything, since they're such a trash company. But number two, they were excited because it gave them an excuse to say, well, we can't recast T'Challa because that would, we just can't do that. We're too sad. It's just too sad. It's too hard to do that. And so, what do we have in the second film? Women over men, feminazi agendas. That's what happens. And it really is like it. And I haven't even begun talking about this fucking movie yet. But that's what I felt like. I felt like you had two sides. It was a very dark look on the inside of Hollywood. You have this one guy, he's really sad. He could have made probably a good movie originally. But then you have the studio, and they just wanted to push the women over men agenda. And so they got really excited to take advantage of this tragedy. And that's what I felt like happened. I really felt like they used this tragedy as a way to shove in, because that's what these people do. That's what SJWs do. I've talked about this cultural terrorism before, when I've talked about how they take these franchises, they destroy the characters, they destroy the old stories, because then they build their own shit on top of it, and they say, what do you can't watch the old stuff. It's gone. It's destroyed. You can only watch our crappy stuff now. That's exactly what these people like to do. They like to artificially just shove things in where they can. They like to take advantage. They like to, use emotions, very high emotions, like, with the first movie, how if you didn't like it, you got called a racist. It's the same type of thing. It's a very sinister and gross type of thing that these people do in Hollywood, and they don't like the comics either. Like, they don't like the comics. They don't care about the comics. They don't care about the characters. They've proven that time and time and again, especially with this movie where you don't even have Black Panther in a Black Panther movie. You just have a bunch of women running around in shitty ass CGI costumes that, they're not Black Panther. Sorry, but they're just not. They're not T'Challa. They never will be, any of them, especially fucking token Iron Man Riri Williams. And we'll talk about her, believe me. So, this movie, I knew it was going to be terrible because you don't make a Black Panther movie without Black Panther unless you want to push the feminist agenda. And that's exactly what this movie was. So, let's get into this movie. This movie was 3 fucking hours, and I swear, like, I got up, and I am ashamed that I did this in the theater, but I could not help it. Like, I want to give a good review, and I want to be, in depth with my reviewing, and not be like just, it was good in some parts and bad in some parts. And so I got up, and I started like pacing around the theater. I started just like, like twitching, just twitching back and forth and side to side because I was just so bored and I just wanted it to end so badly. And like I was walking around, I was just trying so hard to just, okay, I hope this movie is going to end soon because I am about to leave because this is so fucking trash. And so it was not a fun time watching this piece of feminazi trash. It was such a miserable experience, and it was such a miserable movie. Even if you take away all the agenda shit in this movie, it was a miserable movie. From beginning to end, especially the beginning and end, where they make a point. And it pissed me off so much because I'm sorry, but Chadwick Boseman, he's an actor. He's not Black Panther. He's not T'Challa. He's an actor. And from anyone with half a brain, from anyone's point of view, Black Panther should have been recast. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, you want to make a good movie? You want to make a Black Panther movie? Get someone to play fucking Black Panther, you fucking retards. I mean, it's ridiculous, the fact that we got a Black Panther movie, and there's no Black Panther in it. And I was so pissed off because I knew that these pieces of shit would take advantage, and I knew that, we wouldn't get to see Black Panther meet Iron Man. Because, oh yeah, Iron Man's dead too. And we won't get to see Black Panther do this, and we won't get to see Black Panther do that. Because now they're going to take advantage, and they're going to have it be his sister is Black Panther. They're going to have feminazi Black Panther, aka not the real Black Panther. And so it pissed me off so much. I didn't feel sad. I felt pissed off because I thought, this actor, he was very good, and even though he was very good, it has nothing to do with this character. It has nothing to do with Black Panther, and it just shows how little they care about the comics because, in the first movie, they already didn't care about the comics. The first movie was not comic accurate, killing off Ulysses S. Claw, Black Panther's arch nemesis. That wasn't very good, was it? That wasn't a good decision. That was like a slap in the face to comic book fans. Even with Killmonger, if they hadn't killed off Killmonger, he could have been Black Panther himself. I would have been fine with that. A lot more fine than Shuri being Black Panther. That's what I have to say about that, okay? So, it's just, they should have recast him. That's my stance on that. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. For instance, Kevin Conroy, he died today. And, he was a great actor. He did a great job as Batman. But guess what? He's not the only actor who's ever played Batman. But if he was, would you have never wanted another Batman because Kevin Conroy's dead? And then with Christopher Reeve, he's not the... If he was the only actor to have ever played Superman, would you not want another Superman movie because Christopher Reeve is dead? And then with, who else? Fucking Heath Ledger. If Heath Ledger was the only guy to ever play Joker, would you not want another Joker movie? I mean, it's just fucking retarded. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's emotional. I don't even know what to call it. Like it's like taking advantage of people feeling sad and feeling upset over the actor dying. It's like, okay, just because he died, that really has nothing to do with the character, with the comics, with the story. It really has nothing to do with it. Like that should be separate. Real life is separate from a movie. That's the problem with these people, is that they don't separate movies from reality. And so in this movie you have a lot of self-inserting, you have a lot of cringeworthy real life stuff that you see, transplanted onto the movie by the the shitty studio. And it just shows, these people, they have a problem. They don't separate movies from reality. They think that movies are reality, and that's why they suck so badly at making movies. So, what was this movie even about? Like, this movie was like B-plot the movie. Like, this entire movie felt like, what if you took the bad B-plot to a bad Black Panther movie, and you made that the movie? Like, you guys know what a B-plot is. It's like when you have the main plot, which is the A-plot, and then you have the B-plot. This whole movie is the B-plot. That's another reason why it's trash. So, it starts off, Black Panther's dead because his sister couldn't cure him of a disease. And it's like, oh wow, they're really making it that close to reality. They're really like making this like, this is kind of, it was really uncomfortable actually to watch, because it's like, you wonder if there's anything, going on behind the movie, like how I talked about Eye of the Devil, and I talked about all the magic shit with that. You actually have to wonder if there was that going on with this. And so it was very creepy. It gave me a very creepy, sinister vibe. And then they had this whole funeral. And then the plot of the movie is like, it's all about a bunch of plot MacGuffins, plot devices, plot conveniences. The whole movie felt very contrived. It felt very much like, what if you're on a Black Panther theme park ride and they're like taking you through the story that, it has no stakes. There weren't any stakes in this movie. I mean, I didn't feel any tension or suspense. I knew that, I knew who was going to die and who wasn't. And that was another funny thing, was that this movie, there's two movies that this reminded me of. And I want people to know this too, because, I'm not going to really go too far into the plot, because I don't want to just, explain the movie, because I don't like doing that. There's two movies that this made me feel like, though. Number one was Coming to America, Part 2. And you guys remember how trash that movie was. This movie was very reminiscent of Coming to America Part 2, where you had the Wakanda design looked a lot like it looked a lot like in Coming to America Part 2. And then you have the similarity with Shuri and Okoye. I think it was Okoye. I can't remember because this movie it was brain dead, and I was like, my brain was mush by the end of this piece of shit movie. And them going to America and just like Coming to America, to look for this certain young person, like in Coming to America where he's looking for his son. And then they find Riri, and they take her back there, and it's all about, oh, Riri's discovering this place, and it becomes about her a little bit, and about her being there and everything, and so it very much, and then the villain was very much like in Coming to America Part 2, where he was just kind of this other kingdom in the area, and he just... So it very much reminded me of Coming to America, except I'll actually say this. Coming to America was better than this movie. So, wow. I didn't expect to say that. And then the second movie that reminded me of this was Thor: The Dark World. And Thor: The Dark World, I think that movie gets a bad rap. I think that movie's pretty good. It's not very good, but it is pretty good compared to what people say. It's not that I like the stuff that people don't like in that movie. It's just that there's a lot of great things in that movie that I think are better than, the good outweighs most of the bad, in my opinion. Like, I really love the action in Thor 2. I loved Loki in it. I mean, it was basically Loki's movie. And there was some other stuff too, like the Thor's mom's death was very, very good. That was very well handled. There was some other stuff too. But it really reminded me, though, in this movie, because in this, Black Panther's mom gets killed in a very similar way to Thor: The Dark World. And then, of course, they have the funeral for her, and just, wow. And then they have where they have an outsider in their kingdom showing them around. It very much reminded me of Thor: The Dark World. And then at the end of the movie, it reminded me of The Last of Us Part 2. Because there's this character, I guess he's a villain in the movie. I couldn't really tell what was what. Like, it was just so bad that after a while, I was like, I'm just going to survive this movie, and I'm going to give it a bad review, and I'm going to move on to something else that'll probably suck too. The villain was Token Namor. They took Namor from the comics. They ruined him. They tokenized him. And then they ruined his whole culture. There's no more Atlantis. It's some place called Tokaland. It should have been called Token because it's home of the tokens. And, all of his people look like they're an avatar. And, I mean, I've heard people say that before, and I was like, really? Is that really what they're going to look like? And it's like, yeah, they really did look exactly like the people in Avatar, except the people in Avatar had, bigger eyes. So, that was very strange. Especially because the movies are coming out so close to each other, which has happened a lot in the past with films, where similar films come out and you wonder, who ripped off who. Doctor Strangelove had a very similar film come out near, I can't remember the title, but that was another comparison if you want to go back and look that up. Look those movies up. Token Namor, he's he's mad about, like, he thinks he's this is really tough. He's okay. He's mad at the world because the world is bad because they're all colonizers. Like, that's what Killmonger was like in the first movie. So he has two motivations, and so one of them is just copy from the first movie, and then the second motivation is that he's led to believe that, like, Wakanda attacked them or something, and so he God, I don't even want to talk about this movie. It's so bad. It's so bad. I don't even want to get into the details. But he's mad, and he attacks Wakanda, and after he offers Shuri a partnership where they can massacre the rest of the world together, just like Killmonger did with Black Panther. And then Shuri's like, no thanks, you're an evil man. And she and Riri Williams escape, and we'll talk about that, believe me. And Token Namor and his people attack Wakanda. And this scene was very funny because this sequence, the attack sequence, they made Wakanda look like Jurassic Park. And like they had like this boat with people on it, and it looked like a boat ride at a theme park. It looked like it was like Jurassic World. And Namor kills Black Panther's mother. And I knew that was going to happen because of the way that, just movies nowadays, especially Marvel movies, they're so formulaic and so cliche and unoriginal and unimaginative that I could see the writing on the wall for her getting killed. It was very cringeworthy and very eye-rolly, because it's like, okay, whatever, who cares, like, I'm not invested in her character. Like, you know what I'm invested in? Whether the movie's good or not. And the movie was just not good whatsoever. And so I really didn't care whether any character lived or died. So she died, and of course you're expecting revenge. You're expecting for them to wreck Namor's shit. Especially since Killmonger, he didn't come to Wakanda and kill Black Panther's mother. So it's like Namor, he deserved to get effed up. Like, if I were Shuri, which if I were Shuri Panther, then I would have killed Namor easily. I mean, there's no reason not to kill Namor. Can take all of his resources, can kill all of his people. I mean, it's really not that complicated. But there's this whole conflict with, like, for no reason, where it's like, should Shuri kill Namor? Should she not kill Namor? And it's like, why is she having this conflict? Like, this guy killed her mom. Like, I just don't understand, like, it, and so you can see where it's like The Last of Us Part 2. And what happens at the end is Shuri, she's in the Black Panther costume. She's, doing a Black Panther cosplay. And she's having this really terrible looking fake fight with Namor. And Namor ends up stabbing her. And she basically walks it off, like getting stabbed in the stomach is no big deal. And she acts like she's been stabbed before, probably by other guys. And and then she kills they're fighting on the beach near the water. It's so much like The Last of Us Part 2 that I was like, oh no. Are they going to pull a Last of Us Part 2 where the whole fucking movie you're waiting for this bitch to kill Abby, and then at the end of the game it's like, oh no, actually revenge is bad because after we've killed all these people and we've done all this stuff, revenge is actually bad. And so they did. They did the exact same thing, all the way down to having a flashback of a scene that happened 10 fucking minutes ago. With the scene with, they have this cringeworthy scene where Shuri has, she takes the purple goo, the purple juice, like it looked like purple. It looked kind of like when you use like purple soap in the bathtub, and then like you could take like the bath water, like that bitch from Twitch who liked to sell her bath water. Like, it looked like, what if you took like Shuri's bath water and she started drinking her own bath water, and then she's having a hallucinatory experience, and she's gonna see like an ancestor, and then, ooh, surprise, she doesn't see T'Challa, she sees Killmonger, because that's totally what would happen. Wink, wink. And it's like, no, the fanboys wanted to see Killmonger. Like, Shuri would not ever wanted to see Killmonger. The fanboys wanted to. And Killmonger is like, the problem with T'Challa was that he was too noble. You know what I would do with this Namor fella? I would take care of business. And so they have this whole cringeworthy flashback where Killmonger says, are you going to be noble, or are you going to take care of business? And then they show, finally she sees a hallucination of her mom, and she tells her, show Namor what you are. Show Namor who you are. Is in like, God, I hate this movie. And so, what does she end up doing? Predictably, she does not kill Namor. Very, very unfortunate. Very, very dumb. Forced. We all know that in real life, anyone and their brother would kill Namor. But of course, it's Disney, so can't kill the villain in a Disney movie unless it's, I don't know, like, I don't understand the rules anymore. They're just, and so then, and there's this whole cringeworthy shit with Shuri, where she's like, I have come here to kill you. Oh, do you want a glass of water? And and then at the end, she's finally like, I will protect your people and your secrets, and in exchange, you will leave. And Namor, token Namor, he's just so weak and so pathetic. He's basically like a Hispanic stereotype character, like with the big mustache and the, he's just such a joke in this movie, and he's just, you can't take him seriously at all. And so they actually form a partnership at the end, and then he calls off his people, and then that you had the whole cringeworthy fight with his people, the tokens, and they're fighting with the Wakandians, the woke Kandians, and that's the other cringeworthy thing, is that you don't get one person with a superhero suit in this movie. No, because that's not enough. Since these are all strong women, they all deserve suits. And so Shuri makes a suit for Okoye. She calls it the Midnight Angel suit. It literally looks like a fucking ripoff of the Predator armor. The movie Predator, which is 1,000,000 times better than this stupid ass shit. And then Token Iron Man, of course, she makes her Metroid Prime, the retard version, and she looked terrible. That costume, I gotta say, like, the Token Iron Man outfit in this movie, it's the worst costume in MCU history. next to the costumes that the fucking stupid Injustices had. You know, that shitty Injustices show with Anson Mount? You know, like, those costumes were pretty bad. This costume was worse, and it was terrible. It looked so clunky and dopey, and just ugh. But all of them, and then there's another woman from the army that gets a suit, and a Midnight Angel Predator suit, and so they're fighting with the Tokians, and the fight looks so fake. It looks like a Bollywood dance competition. It looks like a Cobra Kai season 3 at the end, where they're fighting in the house and they're just all dancing with each other, and it looks so fake and phony. It's ridiculous. So the rest of the movie, you have this whole plot where Namor demands the scientist that's responsible for some sort of a vibranium detector machine thing, which I didn't even get that. I read that off of Wikipedia after I watched the movie. Like, I didn't even get what was going on in the movie, and so I apologize. But I'm sorry, I just couldn't. And I'm not watching it again, so... they go to get Token Iron Man, and she's in college, and there's this scene where she goes up to this random white guy, and she makes fun of him or something. It's really cringeworthy, and her character is so not charismatic. She's like you can just tell she's like just some young amateur actor who, you know, just took advantage and signed up for this crappy movie. You know, she really wasn't up to the challenge, and she just did it for fame and popularity. She really wasn't right for the part, even though I don't think there is anyone right for this trash part, because it's a trash character that nobody wanted. And that's another thing, is that just like with Doctor Strange 2 and having that other token character, the whatever, I can't remember, it was like Miss America or something? I can't even remember the you know, whatever she was, the universe jumping lesbian, like, I can't remember her name. It was exactly like in that movie where, you know, they knew that nobody would want to watch her solo movie or solo series, so they had to shove her into this Doctor Strange movie to force feed her to audiences. And it was the exact same with this, where they knew nobody wants to watch Token Iron Man, and so they just shoved her character in this movie for more girl power, as if this movie needed any more feminazi agenda shit than it are. I mean, this movie is feminazi steroids. Like, this movie is like, it's like a year's supply of estrogen. Like, that's what this movie is. Like, it's a year's supply of soy. It's not a year's supply of vibranium, like the first movie. And that's another thing, is like, you gotta feel bad the fact that, like, the first movie had these great male role models and these great, like, strong male characters. Even though, like, Black Panther was kind of sidelined, he was still a strong character. This movie has no strong male characters whatsoever. They're all sidelined to the women. They're all dopes. They're all goofy. They're all just weak, pathetic. And then the women are the ones who have all the power and all the strength. And they're the ones who know what to do and everything. And it's like, see, this is exactly what I knew that they would do. So, what was I going to talk? Okay, so there's this plot where Token Namor wants Token Iron Man. And at first, they're like, okay, let's give her to him. And I was really excited, because honestly, in the first movie, you know, they killed Black Panther's arch nemesis, which was like a big, big, big mistake in my opinion. In this movie, if they had killed off Token Iron Man, I would have been so happy. I would have been so satisfied. Like if Namor got to kill Williams, I would have been so happy and satisfied with that. But instead, of course, oh no, can't do that because she's the future of the MCU, and so can't do that. And what's really funny too is that even though this movie thinks that it's really progressive, is that at a certain point in the movie, you have these characters and they're basically just damsels in distress, and they get out of their situation very easily. But I still found it hilarious how, in any Buffy episode where Buffy would be in trouble, she would never be the damsel in distress whatsoever. So I find it funny that, in this progressive Marvel movie, that you have these damsels in distress characters. So, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth talking about, because it was just such a mess. Like the movie, it had no purpose. It had no... every movie needs to have a plot. This movie didn't even have a plot. It was just so pointless and so directionless. And it was ugly. It was depressing. It was dull. It was lifeless. It was soulless. It was humorless. And God, I hated this movie. Like Token Namor, his whole story, it was basically like a bargain bin X-Files episode too. Like that initial attack where I don't know what they're doing. They're attacking or defending or something. That whole sequence was like straight out of like an X-Files cold opener, where you see like the monster fighting and killing some people or something. Like that was so much like the X-Files, it wasn't even funny. So this movie, and the music was terrible too. Like the music in the first movie, it was very good. The music in this was just ew, 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 ew. That's what I thought of the music in this movie. But I will say, the actors, not all of them are bad. I do think that Shuri is very good in a lot of ways. And I think that Okoye, of course, she's been on The Walking Dead, and she's really, really good. And I really liked her. And then, of course, the mom, she's really good, even though she's not really in the movie very much. She's very, very good. Everybody else is just kind of... And then M'Baku, I think that he's a really good actor. But in this movie, since he's a male character, he was just sort of relegated into being the comedic relief, with the background comedic relief. The worst part of this movie, the part that really pissed me off and really was just all of the like trying to fill in over T'Challa with these strong women. Like, it was so insulting, and it was so like evil, and just it was so irritating to watch this. Like, and there was this one part in particular at the end where Token Iron Man, she's basically like, she didn't even need to be in the movie. That's why I'm saying, like, they just had her in the movie to force feed her to audiences so that they would know who she is. like the America Chavez trash character, because nobody cares about these characters. Nobody cares about these awful characters. They're some of the worst characters in comic book history for various reasons that you got, people know. People know. So the worst part, though, is when at the end, she's Token Iron Man, she's with Shuri, and they're in the lab, and they framed it exactly like in Black Panther when, T'Challa would be in the lab with his sister, and they would do the little handshake with each other, and it was so like creepy and insulting the way that, they had Token Iron Man do that kind of handshake and the framing of the shot. It was like, ew, are they like trying to pretend that like now T'Challa's shoes have been filled with these people, these terrible characters? Ew. Like, just, what a joke. What a complete and utter joke. So, in terms of food, it's really funny because, and I will say too, this is the worst Marvel movie of the year. Doctor Strange 2 was the best one. It did have some good stuff in it, even though it was terrible. Thor 4 was terrible, but at least it had Christian Bale. This movie is the worst Marvel movie of the year. It was so long. It was like a slog. It was like the equivalent of binge watching 10 episodes of television. And it was depressing and dark. And it was lifeless and soulless. It was a feminazi movie too. That's the icing on the shit cake. So this movie, it's really funny because for breakfast, my breakfast was basically exactly like this movie. And it was weird how perfectly it fit in with this film. So every morning for breakfast, I have a chocolate protein bar and I have another flavor protein bar, which is either peanut butter, chocolate peanut butter, sometimes vanilla, which is kind of pretty gross, strawberry, berry, caramel, cookies and cream, or red velvet, or mint. Which for some reason, every time I have a mint bar, it's usually a signal for a bad luck day. So I kind of try to stay away from those, even though I like the taste of them. For some reason, that's just how it works out, though. Well, with this movie, I picked out a chocolate and a mint. And I was like, okay, I'm in the mood for a mint, so whatevs. And I started taking a bite of the chocolate protein bar, and it was gross. And it tasted off. It tasted like there was ingredient in it that expired. And so the chocolate protein bar is Chadwick Boseman. And and I threw that protein bar I threw that protein bar away, because, he's dead. He passed away. And what should I have done after that? Obviously, I should have gotten another chocolate protein bar to replace the chocolate protein bar that was expired for some reason. Which, the protein bar company, they've had problems with that before. In fact, I got a whole box of free protein bars after I complained about one of them being messed up. So the chocolate protein bar, too, I'd like to explain. To me, they're like the neutral flavor, and so that's why I always have one of those and then one of another flavor. So instead, though, I ate the mint bar, and the mint bar was like Shuri. And so I was like, yum, 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 on the mint bar. And, it was like the feminazi element of the film. But then, instead of getting a chocolate protein bar, I went and I got a peanut butter regular protein bar. So you had peanut butter and mint. Very, very weird combination with these flavors. And so then I ate the peanut butter. It was just such a weird, odd breakfast. It threw me off for the rest of the day, and it reminds me so much of this movie in terms of the peanut butter would probably be Token Namor and Token Iron Man, just throwing these elements into the movie that completely tamper with the film, tamper with the story and characters. So that was this movie. It was a very odd, weird choice of, protein bars. Instead of just having a normal breakfast with, you have a chocolate protein bar and a mint one, I had a mint one and a peanut butter one. Very, very weird. I don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want to watch this movie again. I don't even want to talk about it again because it was so bad. I mean, everything in the movie was bad. Every single element, except for some of the acting. So that's how bad this movie is. It was a terrible sequel. It was a terrible waste of time. The whole movie you felt like, where's Black Panther? Where's T'Challa? And I guess they thought that was a smart thing to do. No. Not very smart, Marvel. So anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and then please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews, because, other YouTube reviewers are afraid of getting called racist for not liking this piece of shit movie. I'm not. I don't care. This movie's trash. So goodbye, everybody. See